Welcome to the Ministry of Information and Communications. We now call on all journalists to send in your recorders forward, please. We'll start today's press briefing with our usual silent prayers. Amen and amen. You can please pass them on and kindly ask that you put your phones on vibrate or silent mode. We'll start today's press briefing with our usual news brief, after which the Deputy Minister will come up and introduce our guest for today. News brief for Thursday, 9th June 2022. A Vietnamese delegation to Sierra Leone has on Tuesday, 7th June, paid a courtesy call on His Excellency President Dr. Julius Maada Bio and expressed desire for a stronger partnership with the committee. The World Bank has on Thursday, 2nd June, approved $41.1 million International Development Association grant to support the establishment of an efficient and accessible land administration system in Sierra Leone. And lastly, the Deputy Director General of the Gambia Tourism and Hospitality Institute, Momodu Singate, has on Monday, 6 June, discussed possible support training in the field of tourism with the Minister of Tourism and Cultural Affairs, Dr. Memuna Tuprat, at the Ministry's Kingham Road office in Freetown. We'll now call on the Deputy Minister, Mr. Solomon John, to introduce our guest for today.
Thank you very much, Nancy, for the brief. First of all, let me welcome all of us to yet another weekly press briefing, and to continue to thank and commend all of us for the platforms we utilize to make sure that our people are kept updated on key and critical developments of public interest. Again, we have with us, and we are so privileged to have with us, the Statistician General of Statistics Sierra Leone. And again, we want to commend you, Professor, because this is very consistent with your pledge, bearing in mind that a one-off communication on an issue as important as a midterm census is never sufficient. And as we continue to see discussions and debates around the midterm population and housing census, we want to commend you for availing yourself, because I believe there may be further questions to be asked, and so we want to thank you that you've made yourself available to respond to any questions that could come from this body. But we are also pleased and privileged to have with us Mr. Lamin Sharif, the media officer, State House, who would also speak to His Excellency the President's trip to Kenya, and to share with us very important highlights regarding that very important visit. And so these are the two distinguished gentlemen that we have with us. After their presentations or remarks, then we would open the floor for questions or comments. We are fully aware that the Leone Stars would be engaging today, and so we don't want us to be distracted. We want to make this as short but as substantial as possible, so that we can retire to our other businesses. On this note, it gives me pleasure to first bring on Mr. Lamin Sharif, the media officer, State House, to speak to His Excellency's visit to Kenya. Mr.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. Good afternoon, colleagues in the media. I am, as I may be introduced earlier, I am Lamin Sharif, and I am the media officer at State House. I was privileged and opportune to have been a part of the President's visit to Kenya, where he was invited by his colleague and counterpart, His Excellency Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, the President of the Republic of Kenya. He was in Kenya on two invitations. One, he was there to speak on the International Peacekeeping Day of the United Nations, and second, he was there as guest of honor for the Kenyatta Madaraka Day. So he used that platform and opportunity, and he signed various memoranda of understanding between Sierra Leone and the government of Kenya. As we may be aware, before the start of our census, the people and the Republic of Kenya donated 20,000 laptop power bank for our digital census. In Africa, Kenya was the first country to have conducted a digital census. So after the completion of that successful digital census, many countries in Africa had wanted to copy from them, and they extended invitation for their equipment and their knowledge to be shared among African nations for the collection of credible data through the use of their gadgets. So it was 45,000 that was given to different countries, including but not limited to Botswana, South Africa, Mauritius, Namibia, and Sierra Leone. 45,000 gadgets. And these 45,000 gadgets, 20,000 was given to Sierra Leone. It was donated to Sierra Leone, whereas the other countries, they lend them those equipment. So it speaks volume of the relationship that existed or is existing between the president of these two countries. You know, the first occasion was on the 29th of May 2022, where His Excellency spoke at the International Peacekeeping Day. For those of us who are alive or might have learned, we know the numerous roles the Kimbat peacekeeping troop did for the restoration of peace in Sierra Leone. So it was because of that that His Excellency the President was there to talk to the people, mainly to appreciate them, because they came into this country for peacekeeping under the United Nations. Prior to this time, there had been no relationship whatsoever with the Republic of Kenya. So it was when His Excellency the President went that they signed different memoranda, thus commencing a bilateral relationship between these two countries. During the peacekeeping in Sierra Leone, the Kenyan troop that came to Sierra Leone, 4 of them died while serving Sierra Leone. So the President was there specifically to thank them for the role they played and to sympathize with them for the loss that happened in this country. And he said it took Sierra Leone a very long time to go and say thank you to the people of Kenya. But they appreciated it because he was there to grace the occasion. On the second day, His Excellency the President met his counterparts, and they signed different memoranda, which included a memorandum of understanding on joint commission of cooperation. A joint commission of cooperation is an agreement for the reciprocal promotion and protection of investment with the aim of promoting investment which contributes to sustainable development, encouraging the transfer of technology, creating jobs, strengthening contact between private sectors of these two countries. This particular memorandum of understanding was signed by the Foreign Minister of Sierra Leone on behalf of the government and the people of Sierra Leone. There was the need for this government and the government of Kenya to sign a memorandum of understanding on political and diplomacy. It is worth knowing that Sierra Leone, we are constructing the first diplomatic center in Sierra Leone. So Kenya, the president said they would learn from how Sierra Leone is working in diplomacy, because diplomacy is another field of its own. Every country, you must want to learn your diplomat because they'll be there representing you. So we signed that agreement, political and economic diplomacy. In this cooperation, technologies, cooperation in the areas of empowerment, promoting a decent work through the implementation of projects in the aforesaid areas, in partnership framework, and the encouragement of the exchange of experience in these fields, as well as the exchange of information and documentation. It was very important for any country establishing a relationship that you want to continue to deepen, to concretize, for you to sign this type of memorandum of understanding. The Memorandum of Understanding on Gender Equality and Women Empowerment was also signed in the presence of the two heads of state and the two ministers of foreign affairs and international cooperation. Here, gender equality is not only a fundamental right to His Excellency the President, but to him, he said, it's a necessary foundation for a peaceful, prosperous, and a sustained nation. We all can agree that for a nation to grow in this digital world we are about to face, or we are in now, we must empower the women to take leadership. More or less the reason why we've got prominent Sierra Leonean who continue to hold prominent positions in society in Sierra Leone and in the diaspora. Madam Zainab Bangura is one person who is holding a distinguished position. She is the Director General of the United Nations office in Nairobi. We've got Mieta Samba, who is representing Sierra Leone in the International Criminal Court. A host of many other Sierra Leonean women who are holding important positions. So the two heads of state, they thought it fit that there was the need to sign a memorandum of understanding on how they should continue to work together to promote women equality and their empowerment. Trade and investment was another area of memorandum of understanding that the two countries signed. And fortunately, the Minister of Trade and Industry of Sierra Leone, Dr. Hinga Sandi, was at the occasion. He signed trade and investment memorandum of understanding between the two countries. The purpose of this memorandum of understanding is to establish a formal and a flexible framework between the participants to expand trade and investment cooperation to foster scientific technologies, collaboration for business development in emerging key sectors, to strengthen communication, to enhance trust, to boost economy development, and to create jobs. In doing so, in this memorandum of understanding, it is believed that both parties will continue to benefit and to cooperate with each other. An agreement was signed also, an agreement of memorandum of understanding, in the presence of our country's Minister of Tourism and Cultural Affairs, and it was named the Tourism and Arts Memorandum of Understanding. For those of us who've been to Kenya in one or two occasions, you can agree with me that the amount of tourists that normally visit Kenya generates a lot of money for them. It is a whole source of income for them, generating millions of dollars for them. So it was prudent and very important for these two nations, the Republic of Kenya and the Republic of Sierra Leone, to sign a memorandum of understanding where we exchange ideas. We have to learn from Kenya. What are your unique selling propositions? Why is it that in many people around the world are mainly going to visit Kenya? We will learn from them and will continue to be part of that cooperation. A memorandum of understanding was also signed for ICT and youth education. Kenya has used ICT and youth education to boost agriculture. We can also learn from them, we can cooperate with them, we can share ideas, we can compare notes on how these two countries can harness their full potentials in those memorandum of understanding. Normally, whenever a president visits any neighboring country, we engage Sierra Leonean community. So His Excellency used that opportunity to engage cross-section of Sierra Leonean doctors who are specializing in different fields in Kenya. He met with them, he encouraged them, after their service, they should come to serve Sierra Leone. His Excellency also used that opportunity and visited the United Nations office in Nairobi. The visit here was very peculiar because our own sister, Mrs. Zainab Bangura, is the head of that institution. When we visited in the presence of all other diplomats and other foreigners working at that office, Madam Zainab Bangura said one thing that is worth noting. Because the job she is occupying in the United Nations, you must be recommended by your home country. And he said in her own words, and I quote, when the United Nations Secretary General contacted President Bio on my appointment in that position, the president did not contact me. What she did and what the president did was to approve, yes, this woman has played a very big role in Sierra Leone, despite our, she is a member of the opposition, which the woman, she said she's a member of the APC, but the president did not look to that. What the president did was to commend her, and she got that job. You know, it was a rosary occasion, and the president also, as I did say earlier, he went there as the guest of honor on their Madaraka Day. The Madaraka Day in Kenya is like their Independence Day when they started their self-rule. He was a guest of honor because Sierra Leone and Kenya, we share similar circumstances on how we gain independence. We signed that cooperation, and we will see henceforth Sierra Leone will begin to benefit from many corporations in Kenya, and Kenya also will start to benefit from Sierra Leone. The Minister of Tourism, Dr. Memuna Tuprat, said in many occasions she had gone to Kenya to find ways on how Kenya could help Sierra Leone in the tourism sector. But there was no formal document where they could work to ensure there was a concrete relationship between these two countries. So henceforth, with the signing of these different agreements, Sierra Leone and Kenya will continue to be good friends, and the two heads of state has promised that they will work together to harness the full potentials. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lamin Sharif, for taking time to go through what we consider to be a very important visit. We believe that President Julius Maada Bio was there out of President Kenyatta's recognition that the government of President Bio is making very impressive strides, and that it was important for him to stand in solidarity with him. And we believe through that visit, Sierra Leone has been showcased in many ways than one. And Kenya is just a go-to country for many reasons. Obviously, it's a bigger market. Kenya's population is about 53-point-something million, with a GDP of 98 billion. Sierra Leone's GDP is about 3.8 billion. So if you put 3.8 billion as against 98 billion, you know that's a bigger market that you can go to. So this is very important to share with us, and we believe it is also important that it will strengthen our bilateral relations with Kenya. And so thank you very much for also being part of that delegation and for taking time to share with us those important highlights. So as I said, we have with us the Statistician General, who may need or require any introduction, who may not require any introduction. He's here, as I said, in keeping with his pledge to be romancing with media and making sure that we keep the media and our people updated. And I think the Statistician General would want to make a few remarks before we formally open the floor. Professor, please.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Thank you, my colleague, journalists who are here. And thank you to my team, start yourself. First of all, I want to thank my deputy, Mr. Andrew Bob Johnny, who was here last Thursday and made a presentation to you. So I don't have a presentation to make because it will be the same presentation. But what we wanted to do today is to be available to you again, because we know that lots and lots of things have happened. Interpretation of what we have announced as the provisional results, but note also that we have just given you the districts level, the district level. Okay, and already lots of things have come out of that, and which is good in a democracy, and which is also good in an educated population that we have. So what we want to do, or what I want to do today, and with the DSG, we have as well the Director of Communications, we have the Census Program Manager, we have the Director of the National Statistical System here. We all will be available to you. First, why did the DSG present to you? Last Thursday, I made the presentation. I declared the census, the provisional census results, and we wanted you to see that we have a team. It's a teamwork. No one individual can really implement a census in a country. And it is in fact that teamwork that made it possible for us, and that is what you would want to know about more. The process. It's the process that I wanted to really emphasize today. I want the public to know that a census, especially for the first time a digital census, would have to go through a rigorous process to ensuring that the data are of good quality. So in doing this, the DSG went through the presentation and made clarifications, lots of things. I will just be reoccurring some of those things. Especially those that have the potential for misinterpretation, misunderstanding, etc. But what I know for now for our country, because this was not the first time we've had a census, is the issue of the population that is being counted. I think that issue has to always be stressed by journalists. Who do we count? And who answers, who responds to our enumerators? You could have 5 people in a household. We are satisfied with one of those, the competent person in that household, responding to our questions. Please, my colleague journalists, that is an important information that you must always clarify. There are many people who would say they were not counted, even educated people would say they were not counted, or they were counted by their members. A husband could have given the information about the wife and the children and any other member of the household. The wife could do the same. We would not take the information from 2 or 3 people, one person. That must be made very clear. And what has to be made very clear again by you is that there are 2 types of populations. The terms maybe, don't worry about the terms, but the jure and de facto. What is important is for us to understand who is it that we count on census night. Those, the person who slept on census night. Then we go there the following day. De facto population, you slept there. It does not matter whether that is your usual place of residence. That's what we want to know. You slept there. Where did you sleep on census night? That is de facto population. And you can, most censuses really consider de facto population, not the jure. The jure, if that is where it's your normal place of residence. Okay? We, fortunately, will be looking at, the data analysis will be looking at all of this because we did a listing of the population. That is those who also are normal residents in those households. But please remember, so it means that, let us consider Freetown, because Freetown has become a topical issue now. not even Freetown, Western area. Well, some people just say Freetown. But let's consider the Western area. The Western area population. And look at the normal, the people, the population, the people who normally or are normally resident in the Western area, and the people we counted on who slept in the Western area on census night. They could be different. You have to think about it. When you look at the fact that if a school has 1,000 pupils in the Western area, but the families of those kids live in the rural areas, across Lunge, wherever that is. When we counted in the Western area, those kids would not be part of that population because they did not sleep in the Western area. They slept in the urban, Western urban. This thing has to be made very clear. Please. And if it's a weekend, for example, or a weekday, or the school is not in session, and we came to that household on the census night, those kids did not sleep there. So even if the school has 1,000 pupils, you counted probably 500 of those people who actually slept in the Western area. And that's 500 we will report on the census. That is de facto. That has to be made very clear. If you actually lived in the Western area, but the time when we told you what the census night would be, and like a man like me born in Warima, if I decided to go to Warima to add to the number in Warima, I would not be counted in Freetown, although that's where I live normally. I would be counted in Warima. Even if my normal place of residence is Freetown. You see me all the time here. But during the census night, hey, my friend, I am, for whatever reasons, personal to me. It could be now that I want a school, I want this for my village, I want some kinds of whatever reasons. I decided to drive to Warima, slept, and then I slept there on census night. So if you asked, then I will be counted in Warima. And we saw, in fact, some of us at StartSSL, we did see some groups came to us to explain to them about the concept even before the counting started. They organized themselves. They were talking about constituencies and whatever it is that they would want to go to their villages. And if you look at also the resident population in the Western area, if you go out now, you see lots of people, of course. So you would think that all of these people sleep in the Western area, and you definitely know that's not true. They wouldn't have slept here on the census night. So ladies and gentlemen, what we want to assure you at StartSSL is that we have counted, we were given a task, and we went there. We were not influenced by any kind of motivations. We went there to count the people, and we have produced the results that we can assure you is credible. That's what we produced. What we saw, what our enumerators, our trained enumerators have provided to us is what we have produced. If we had done something else different from what we have given to you, then we would have been thinking about what to do today to explain that. But we cannot be defending anything. What we assure you is that we trained our enumerators, and that brings me to the issue of training. Whether or not we are competent, it's not one individual who does the training, as StartSSL. We have a group of people. And not also that, and I think I did say this some time back, that it is not the first time for us to StartSSL to train people in the use of tablets. As I speak now, we are working with DSTI. There is going to be a survey. We are training Sierra Leoneans on the use of tablets for surveys. So now we have the capacity as TADESL to do that. I wish I had brought the huge reports here. Consider the Living Standards Survey, which we call in Sierra Leone SLEAS, the Sierra Leone Integrated Household Survey, which everyone is proud to use. The poverty statistics that we have generated. We trained Sierra Leoneans to use tablets, and we, across the country, over a year period, we collected data, which we analyzed, and which we have written on, and this data, these reports are now being used by the international community. After that, we did the demographic and household survey. We used tablets. We trained hundreds of Sierra Leoneans. We were the ones who determined when the training should stop, because, and we gave tests, etc., and we went to the field. For this census, this midterm census this time, ladies and gentlemen, we trained people in their own districts. The recruitment was district-based, because what we wanted to do, as we said before we started, we wanted, like you say, the wise man or wise woman, by the way, I go 50-50. The wise man, the wise woman would correct himself or herself from the mistakes of others, or from previous mistakes, or whatever it is. So when we went around the districts, the chiefs, all the stakeholders, expressed concern about the enumerators who we should use, that we would need to have people who would go to the field, who would not hesitate to go to hard to reach areas, because those are their communities. They would want their people to be counted. And this is what we did. It was a district-wide recruitment process. And this is why today you see here that, oh, people are talking about Mongo, etc. Bond, you go to the Forest District, Moyamba, and Cambia, and all of these riverine areas. We went to those places, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to re-emphasize what when I announced the results about 2 weeks ago, that the gadgets we used this time, and I will still thank the enumerators, they had to go to whatever enumeration area we sent them to. Because if they did not go there, the application on the tablets will not even open. So that's how we monitored the process. It was easy for us to know, and we have timestamps on all the enumeration areas in this country that our enumerators went. And we could tell those who went and probably were lazy, couldn't do much work, or whatever it was, or they had any other influences. We could tell, and we could just say, hey, can you check this enumerator? Supervisor, there is so and so. And we had data quality teams drawn from Frobe, University of Sierra Leone, and Jala University. There were staff lecturers from Jala University and University of Sierra Leone as part of our data quality teams that were there in the districts. And we had ICT, IT people who were there. And we had the consultants who were here. So we were able, so if there were any bugs in the software or whatever, we were able to address those ones. We actually put the process in place, ladies and gentlemen. And this is what we want to assure the public, that we went through this process. And there is, in fact, after all of this, there is a second thing that we could do. There is what is called the PES, the Post-enumeration Survey. We have an opportunity with the Post-enumeration Survey to assess the quality of the data, to assess the coverage. But because it is now a digital census, some countries who have even implemented digital censuses do not really go further to do the PES any longer, Because what you want to do mainly with the PES is to measure the coverage. But now we can even tell where we were. Okay, as I said, we went to about 98% of the country, of the EAs that we. So you would want to say, well, what else are you going to measure in the PES? But we would want to do it. Because the PES really helps you to understand, to look at, to assess the quality of your enumeration exercise. Okay, Kenya did a digital census. Our colleague from State House mentioned that, but Kenya did not do a PES because they could already tell the coverage. Okay, so that is what it is in terms of the PES. So what you are going to see in a couple of weeks' time is that we are not only going to give you the district levels, well, there are chiefdoms and there. So we will give you the results based on the regions, as we have done, the districts, and we will go down as well to the district, to the chiefdoms across. So you can continue to do your analysis and comparisons and all of this. But it is also called a housing, population and housing census. So we are not going to limit you to only the population, which everyone seems to be more excited about now, with all the commentaries that we are seeing. We will also be providing, now we have, ladies and gentlemen, we are proud to tell you that we have the housing characteristics as well, the structures of this country. We did the digital cartography to the extent that we know we have building stamps across the country. And lots of things. Areas, buildings that are residential, buildings that are non-residential. We will provide all of this to you. So you will see that the census, ladies and gentlemen, that we've conducted is one that you will be proud of. Of course, we see there are lots of things that are coming here and there, but that is what democracy is about. And that also gives people we have the strength, we have the knowledge to look at things and to criticize and to evaluate and assess. That is good. That is good for you to do. But we want to assure you, ladies and gentlemen, that we went through the processes. We had, for example, the pilot census that was effective, and then before we moved to the enumeration, we were guided. If, ladies and gentlemen, what we reported was 5 million in 2021, when the population reported by the same institution in 2015 was 7 million. Then we ourselves as Census would have been thinking, no, something went wrong somewhere. If we had reported 9 million in 2021, then we at Census would have also really given a further thought to it. But we've reported 7.5 in the neighborhood. 5-6 years down the line, given all the dynamics of population. That is expected. Otherwise, we would have really gone further to kind of a discussion if we saw only 5 million or if we saw 9 million. But what we saw, counted there, we will stand by our figures, and we want to assure you that we have done the best we could to ensuring that the institution really maintains its high level of credibility. So, as I said, I have my colleagues with me here today as well. If there are any, they've tried to explain, to clarify certain issues before, but we're still here. We want this kind of interaction to go on. If there are any other issues that you think we should clarify, we've made ourselves available for us to have a discussion with all of you. But what I would want to say before I take my seat is to thank you, the media. For us, it does not matter the angle with which, from which you come. What is important is that your integrity as well is at play. Look at the figures and make sure that you support what we have presented. And the analysis would help all of us. I am an individual. At some point, don't consider me as the SG. I look at things as a Sierra Leonean looking at like any other person would be looking at things. Okay? So we are here and we like you. You're doing a good job for us. We can't reach everywhere, but you pass on the message to our people. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Statistician General, for your sense of transparency and also for your consistency in keeping our people updated. And thank you for also making available your key staff to respond to any concerns or questions that may come up. But it's also good to emphasize, as you have said, in terms of the process flow, and to assure our people that contrary to some speculations or widespread theorizing, that this process has been very inclusive. If we go back to the very basis, the fact that we have been able to get a wide range of development partners working with Statistics Sierra Leone, even before the commencement of this whole process, based on the discrepancies that were identified. There is no way you would have gotten development partners to come and validate the process if there were no discrepancies discovered. I am fully aware that even the World Bank, it was the World Bank that supported the very digital mapping before what we conducted as our population and housing census. I mean, an institution as important as the World Bank cannot come to fund something that it does not believe has legitimacy. I mean, the fact that they disengaged, that's okay. That may have an explanation, possibly because of the seeming political impasse, and so they may not have been seen doing it. But there is nothing that questions the legitimacy of the process. It's well anchored on law, and I've always given the analogy. You can look at statutory audits that are conducted every year, but you can also look at the power of the president to ask for a special audit, even within a statutory audit period. These things happen. So anything that is anchored on law, there is no question of legitimacy. In the Census Act, it is clear that census can be conducted from time to time. That is a power that is statutorily conferred. Nobody can argue with it. So for anybody that may want to be questioning whether this was legal, the question is yes. It is well anchored in the law. We have had extensive presentations from Statistics Sierra Leone on that. And let us bear in mind, this is a mid-term census. This is not a full or primary census conducted every 10 years. This is a mid-term census. 2025, the decision will be taken about a full or primary census. Then we can have sufficient basis to start comparing a 10-year census as against a 10-year census. But this is a mid-term census. So thank you, Statistician General. Let me ask Joe to please come and moderate the Q&A. And I would ask kindly we keep it very focused so that we don't spend too much time on it. We'll keep it very focused on the issue, the issues that have been presented to us. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. We have two sets of 3 questions. So stand up, announce your name, media institution, then you ask your question or questions. You start. Yes.
Yeah, my name is John Obi Prosper from the Open Prime Media Platform. This is going for Prof. We were talking about training your guys of using the tab. So how many days do your training lasted?
Okay, yes.
My name is Abdul Rahman Kamara from Star Television. Professor Osman Sanko, very quick question. What constitutes a provisional result? Okay. Will you confirm to this body that the ECSO Commissioner Mohammed Kale has thus requested already for the current data to determine boundary delimitation from statistics system?
Yes. Okay. Next question. Yes. Take the mic back.
Fireman, fire. To Professor, as you sit, half of the staff employed by your institution who works in the provinces have all not been paid. Those who did the mopping up have not been paid. The list you sent a few days ago still have problems. Many names were omitted. They have not been paid. I have just confirmed that. Why is it that you sacked the district officers in Keneba, Kono, and Kailam 2 days to the census? The third question could be, from taking the cue from Brahman that we understand NEC has requested for official documents for you to do boundary delimitation, and you've stated here that you have not done your statistical work on the issue of housing, and this is housing and population census. Why they rush to publish only for the population and not the other character of the exercise, which will also have an effect on the work of NEC when it comes to boundary delimitation? Thank you.
Okay, so we'll take response for this first set of questions. I see no questions came for my brother from State House, so the professor and his team will respond to the first two questions and then we'll take the next questions.
Hello? Thank you very much. I'm not sure this is...
Sure.
Okay, all right. So I will thank you very much. Let me start with I think the question on what the provisional results really have, in addition to your question, the last gentleman who asked about the housing issues. The provisional results, if you go back to even the 2015, you will see that they did not include the housing and all. It's not that we do not have this, because we do have lots of information already. It is that you release based on what you want to provide, which is the normal thing that is done. Okay, so because the population is the one that everyone you can see that the hype is created. The population is the one that people would want to know. We want to know the numbers quickly. Okay, so we do have the details of the housing, as I was saying. That you'll see that when we report that, it's not even the final analysis, even some of it, the basic things of the residential units, non-residential, that can be provided quickly. But the provisional results, sometimes the provisional results might change slightly depending on whatever issues I should consider. Okay, so that's why they are called provisional in any case. Okay. But of course, in a digital census, where we have really done this clearly, we do not expect any changes at all. Okay, we do not expect any changes. So it's just following the norm of doing things, how it is done internationally, whatever. But definitely we have those details clearly already. And you you talked about the enumerators, payment of enumerators. I hope you must have been seeing some video clips or whatever going down that payment is ongoing across the country. Okay, and the other thing that you should note, I like the question. The digital census is different from the paper questionnaire. If I had given you, sir, 20 questionnaires to go and fill somewhere, and you only did 1 or 2, and then you decided to fill the rest at home, we wouldn't know. Okay? So, but now it was like when we assigned the tablet to an enumerator, we knew exactly where this enumerator should go and how much work that person should complete. If that person went in order to enumerate, let us say we asked this person, the enumerator, to go and count 50 households, he or she only counted 25 households, we will still know here in Freetown at the servers that this person completed only 25 households. And probably for whatever reason, you could fall sick, genuinely, or you could leave, or whatever reasons, then you completed only 50% of your work. So, what would we do? We would replace you for your job to be completed. So, we now know how much we need to pay that enumerator who only completed 50% of the job. So, it is possible in digital. So, don't worry, sir. And as I said when I was announcing the results, every enumerator who really worked, or supervisor, or data quality teams, or IT team who served this country and this census would be paid. It may delay, but we are getting things together, and now you can see that we are paying most of them. We are seeing these responses coming across. So I will let DSG address any other questions.
Yes, and DCC is who we said they were sacked. Well, that's like a contract ended.
Yeah, contract ended.
Yeah, talking about the district census officers, of course, just as you had my colleagues, I mean, if you are given a 6-month contract or a 1-year contract, if it ends, then it ends, of course. If there's going to be an extension of that contract, you review the person's performance, and based on how he or she performed, then you have the leverage to extend the contract or not to extend it. So I really don't see any problem with that. It's just like any normal, I mean, running an institution or an MDA or an NGO, you review people's contracts on an annual basis, or by annual basis, or quarterly basis. So it was not like we sacked people. No, we have not sacked people. Your contract is given for 3 months. We review your contract. When it ends, it ends. I think that's what I can say about this contract so far.
The training?
The training, yeah.
This is hello.
Go down.
Maybe I can just.
I want to be an excellent student. The question is, how many days did the training lasted for? 7 days, sir.
So I think one area that has not been spoken about is the request from NEC. Yes, indeed, we received a letter from NEC requesting like any other institution that they wanted data, and we will act accordingly.
Yeah, let me just give an agenda to. Can I talk? Yeah. Hello. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm continuing on the question from Rick. We conducted a population and housing census. StatSL has a statutory mandate from the government of Sierra Leone and the people, all of you, for us to generate data and share for policy planning and intervention for all sectors of society, be it health, education, agriculture, mining, you name it. So, I mean, people are eager, but data is out for them to use. And it's hot data, quick data. Everyone wants to use data. So can you imagine a data that encompasses all spheres of life, as I mentioned just now? The results have been announced. So, you must be in an emotional, mood to actually ask for data. UNICEF asked for the sampling frame. They did. They asked, 1 month back for the sampling frame. We told them you have to wait until we get the results out announced before we can give you the sampling frame. Other institutions, NGOs, have asked for data immediately it was announced. NEC is just one, like any other institution. So what is wrong in them asking? Like myself, who want to conduct research on maternal mortality, I can ask immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, this focus on politics and census, of course, you can't just separate them. But in terms of, skewing our attention and focus so much on the political census, I think we have to relax a bit. We really have to relax a bit. Census data is provided for every sphere of life, whatever investigation or research you want to make. And NEC is not an exception. It's just one. Development planning for all spheres of life, in fact, is number one in all of this. Maternal mortality, we are having, differences in population by geographic layers. We are having problems in identifying the handicap, where they are, and all of these issues. A lot of investigations you want to. So data is provided for everybody. You can also ask me before I leave whatever data you want. Of course, just send a request, then I give it to you. I think that much I can say about it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, just this is not working. Yeah. Okay. That would. Can you hear me from the back, please? It's in connection with the training. Yeah.
We actually had series of trainings. Paramount of them were the pilot training that lasted for 7 days that my colleague just spoke about, and the main training which lasted for 10 days. During the pilot training, hundreds of our staff were put together, enumeration staff. They were trained during the 7 days on the digital enumeration. All of them were really cascaded to the level of trainers for the main training. And the main training that lasted for 10 days saw these guys going as facilitators and supervisors. Imagine I was trained for 7 days for the pilots. The same Francis Tomi was trained for another 10 days, unless otherwise, but I'm sure of doing a good job. So we have hundreds of our trainees who later became trainers, and most of them were out in the field. So we are sure of the training days, which was 10 days for the main census.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We will take the final set of 3 questions. Okay, come.
Mr. Johnny Abdulrahman again. I have a challenge with the use of word emotional, as we indicated, that NEC is emotional. Can we couch? Yeah, that's exactly what it says. NEC is emotional to actually request for this data from emotional. Should it be emotional or they shouldn't be needful? And secondly, professors, we saw where the initial reaction of 2 international key partners, the European Union and the World Bank, their initial reaction to the conduct of the midterm census made their position very clear. One back out, and the EU made so many comments. Now the indication now is that in the event that they come out with their response based on the midterm census results, and on the note that this might not be friendly to the outcome of the result, how as a nation can we reconcile such challenge?
Okay. Any other question? Yes, go over there. There are two more answers.
Good afternoon, Judge Williams, Premier Newspaper. I want to ask if the 2021 midterm census corrected the mistakes or errors in the 2015 census, and what exactly were the errors or the corrections?
All right, Sano, final question.
It's not a question, it's a real-time experience I faced, and I want to
share
share.
We will still need a question.
Yeah. I have somebody that is working around the same area I live, and his brother participated in the census program going on the field. He received the tablets, he never went on the field, and each time he will be at home playing Scrabble. I think he went twice. And at the end of the day, this guy did not do any work. He returned the tablet, and now he was asking for money. And then the elder brother said, "You are not entitled to payment." And this same guy, I saw him demonstrating the other time, said, "You did not do, you were to work for more than 20 days, almost a month. You only went twice." And then statistics is seeing the data there that you did not go to the area you are seated home. You understand? And then it came about, and after that time, we talked to him. Now he said it's not going. But what I want to say, do we still have that type of people in your group? Because we have people who were given the tax. They never went there. They sat down home, and you told them, "No, you did not go there. Our dashboard shows that you did not go to the area, and you are not entitled to payment." And we've seen people all around going around saying they are supposed to be paid. Do we still have that type of people? Thank you.
He ended up asking the question anyway. We still give the bonus, final bonus to fire.
Yes, but
we need a bonus and similar bonus. The question is, do you still have people, staff, do you still have staff holding on the tablets? If they are holding on to those tablets, do you have any essential information in those tablets that you need?
Okay, so Bob and his team will respond to this and accept the questions.
Thank you very much. Hello? Okay. Hello, thank you very much. I like the question. And the World Bank and the EU. Okay. So you should also probably have asked the question, why did the World Bank agree to fund the census in the first place? I think that's what you should, why the World Bank has been in the country how many years? Okay? The World Bank was there in 2015, etc. And the discussion with the World Bank, as I said, started in 2018 for this midterm census. 2018. And the World Bank agreed to fund the census, the plan for the census. So that's, you should ask yourself that question. Why would the World Bank agree to fund the census? I think that will give you the answer. It means that they agreed with our proposal to do it. Is that not so? Because you cannot just go to the World Bank and say, fund this thing, and then they say they fund it. You have to really present a proposal. You want to say what the issues are, what you want to achieve, and all of this. And the World Bank agreed to fund the census. All of it. Even when at some point the budget was way in the bit, they agreed to make adjustments, etc. Okay. So that is clear. So that means there was need for this after our discussion, after we presented what we wanted to do. And in fact, this dovetails with your question, whether we corrected what we planned to correct. Yes, sir. We did. Okay? And that's the cartographic mapping. if you can go backwards to look at my presentations on the midterm justifications and the midterm census, the major purpose, as we've always been saying, is to make sure that we have locality coding for the entire country. That's what we said. The coding of the localities, that is the villages, the settlements, each settlement in this country now has a code. And that is a big achievement. This is why they are now chasing us, even without saying we are ready or something, everything is ready there. They want the sampling frame. Because we have a digital sampling frame with full, every little locality is coded. Any new one can easily be coded. Any locality that dissolves can be taken out of the system. Easily, that has been achieved. Then you talked about the EU. The EU, the World Bank, and the other partners are very important partners in this country. No doubt about it. But does each and everyone want everything? No. If the EU, and the EU has not funded us, so has not funded, the EU has not been funding StartSL, not any of our activities, and we invited them even to sit on the, so the EU did not fund us, has not been funding us, and the EU, like any other, could make a statement. That's fine, but just imagine what competition that is. Funder of yours or donor of yours funding something and you are not funding it, you would rather talk to your colleague first. The EU, those days, should be certain things. If I had the money, believe me, if I had the money in my pocket, I would have just continued this thing without really. Our country really showed leadership in this case and funded us to. Yes, we have to live on the wings and capacities of our donors. Yes, but there are certain national activities that our countries must honor, must fund them. Otherwise, you determine the steps. Like if we had not, if we did not have the funding, the support of government to move forward, we would have probably stopped where the bank stopped. Then there would be no census, or there would be, if, for example, consider any other national activity in this country that you would want to do as a country, as Sierra Leone. And then if you don't have the funding, if you depend 100% on funders to do that, your national activity, you would have to agree that they would determine your timelines. You would have to agree. There is nothing we can do. But then if the country is able to raise, I think that is what we should be doing, planning going forward. For a complete national activity, we plan for it, we make sure that we have resources put aside for that. Whether we planned. And I think that when we started, we had a timeline, and then the World Bank stopped for some reason, and the government was able to push us to end this first digital census in this country. I am proud that we actually achieved that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, before you pass it on, my brother Abdurrahman started by asking me to
actually work on, and most that did not work in their assigned areas, we assigned other P staff to work there. So in that case, those sort of staff that failed to accomplish their task are not going to be paid. When they heard about tablet submission, that the moment the tablet is submitted, you are going to be paid, they thought it's just going to be to come and get the national cake, just go free like that. It's not going to be like that. We have to be sure that when you were assigned to EA1, you indeed went there and completed your task. So that is one more reason why you still find out that there are some people shouting in the corner that I have not seen my name on the pay list, or my account is empty, and then my account has not been credited, because those people fail to do what they should do. Now, talking about the data, we've been monitoring these guys from the onset, our server gives us information on daily basis to know those that are really working. I can for sure tell you, if we were really sure that the tablets held out there, the few tablets held out there, had useful, essential data relating to this midterm population and housing census, we are not going to release the provisional result. But all of those holding on to those tablets, I can for sure tell you, they just decided to keep them. They didn't go to the field, hoping that when we ask for them to submit their tablets, they will just come, this is my own tablet, I was assigned to EA1, they submit it, and then we pay. That's the kind of case we have. So be rest assured, the few tablets we have out there do not hold any essential information relating to the midterm census, or else we are not going to release the provisional result. Thank you.
Yes.
Any more
Yes. Just to add to what Ledo said, we were able to tell that some people didn't go to the field because we are monitoring them remotely. So that's one thing we have to understand. So every tablet actually does not have data. In fact, some people held on to the tablet just as collateral. You know, I want to hold on to this. I know that if payment comes and I have my tablet, you know, they will have to pay me because I have the tablet to show. Okay, that is one. Regarding the coding, Prof, I think you did mention that even the World Bank, before they pulled out, they certified that the coding that we did was 99%. 99%. So the major reason why we had the census was to ensure we get the coding right. And the people that were funding us said we got it 99%. So that actually should speak volumes. One other thing I want to talk on. Yes, respectfully to the World Bank and the other organizations, we must also understand and underscore that the institutions that are responsible for censuses in the world, one in the world is UNFP, right? In Africa, it's United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. Until the day we announced the provisional results, these guys were there. You know what that tells you? It tells you they've been with us throughout the process. Alright? So that should also tell you that they support the process and they've been part and parcel of it. I think that's all I have to say for now.
Okay. So thank you very much, Professor Sanko, and your hardworking and competent team at Sierra Leone for so eloquently clearing the misconceptions about the latest census. Members of the 40 states, you've heard it all from the experts themselves who conducted the census. I now want to implore you to do justice to the issues in your various publications and productions. Having said that, I want to bring this press briefing to a close. I want to thank you all for coming. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.